So the NBA has officially been suspended for at least 30 days, according to the commissioner, Adam Silver, and there's some things that we need to discuss as NBA fans, and that's the fact that this suspension changes a lot of things, and I'm going to make a video on how it financially changes stuff next, but it changes a lot of things in the story of the NBA in terms of how the regular season would have played out if there was no suspension, versus now that we're going to be taking a little bit of a break before games resume, and based off of how things are going to turn out, meaning the NBA could possibly cancel the entire season, or the NBA could just launch a full-on playoffs when the season returns with the players and with the teams in the current standings that they're in. So what is going on, guys? Your boy TheFlightmike here with some NBA content. I've been reading your comments. You guys know we're primarily a news channel, and a lot of you guys have been suggesting content for us to create during the times that the NBA is suspended. I'm telling you guys, I am fully confident. I have a list of 30 ideas of types of content to bring you guys while you're bored at your homes, either in quarantine or doing whatever you're doing. So make sure that you are subscribed, you like this video, and you turn on notifications so you could officially be notified every time I release a new piece of content. In addition to this, I have a plethora of ideas to keep you guys entertained during these times. If you're a football fan, check out Microphone for NFL videos such as these. If you're a soccer fan, check out Flight FC for soccer videos such as these. And if you're a gamer, follow me on twitch.tv/FlightMike because we will be live after this video plays. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about 6 storylines that I think we need to all be paying attention to once the NBA returns. And some are more serious than the others, and for the most part, I'm going to be trying to go through this list from least serious to most serious because, well, obviously that's how things are the most fun. So let's start out with number 6, and that's the possible return of Klay Thompson. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, this is why it's at number 6, by the way, because I don't think this is going to affect the NBA much. But for those of you guys that don't know, earlier this season, the Golden State Warriors were doing everything they could to get Steph Curry on the court with Andrew Wiggins. Now that the official timetable for Klay Thompson's recovery has been given more time for him to fully recover, assuming that the NBA returns to the regular season in about May or maybe June, which would allow for the actual NBA playoffs to be played in possibly July, do you think it would be a possibility that Klay Thompson would return to the Golden State Warriors starting lineup just to, one, be able to work out the cobwebs out of his system, shake some of that rust off from his torn ACL, also get acclimated to his new teammates such as Andrew Wiggins? Or do you think that the Golden State Warriors are going to completely shut him down for the rest of the season so they could A, get a better pick in the NBA draft, and also B, not risk further injury to Klay Thompson? Bear in mind that Klay tore his ACL back in June, so there is a chance that he could come back if it's been a full year. But the question is whether it really makes sense. This is a guy that's usually competing for NBA championships. The fact that his team is a lottery team and they're definitely eliminated from the playoffs might make you think that he is definitely not going to be playing this season. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Now, the next storyline that I want you guys to look at is a lot of NBA fans, and myself included, all agree that James Harden is a remarkable basketball player. I don't care what you think about his play style. I don't care if you think it's boring, if you think he's exploiting the game. I don't care what you think. But when it comes time for the NBA playoffs, for one reason or another, James Harden somehow slows down. He always gets stopped in either the second round of the NBA playoffs or the Western Conference Finals for one reason or another, and he was really close very recently in his first season with Chris Paul, but we know what ended up happening. Chris Paul got injured in an inopportune time, and he was not able to defeat the juggernaut that is the Golden State Warriors all by himself. So my question is, James Harden also plays in a very up-tempo offense. Do you think it's possible that if James Harden got some rest prior to the start of the NBA playoffs, will he be more effective in the playoffs, or do you think his issues run a little bit deeper than that? Let me know what you guys think about that one in the comment section down below. Personally, I feel like no matter what, we're going to get the same James Harden in the playoffs that we would have gotten originally and I don't think the time off will make much of a difference. Maybe it would allow Mike D'Antoni to sit back and pick apart his offense and see this investment in micro lineups, whether it's paying off or whether it's too gimmicky to succeed. Now, this is when things get a little bit more serious, because the next storyline I have is about Ben Simmons' injury recovery. And the reason why this is on the lower part of the list as opposed to the highest part of the list, and I've already made a video on the Philadelphia 76ers struggles recently, is the fact that the Sixers were struggling even before Ben Simmons went down with an injury. And of course, a lot of us typically try to believe that once the playoffs come around, teams seem to get it together and they're all in on trying to make an effort to make as deep of a playoff run as possible, and usually that could yield some great results. But in Ben Simmons' case, it's a little bit messier than that. Of course, Ben Simmons is injured currently, and any additional time would allow him to come back more healthy and stronger than ever, and of course, maybe even being able to make it for the finale of the regular season, as opposed to if the NBA season was still running, the Sixers would have to continue to play games without him, and that could potentially be messy. But Ben Simmons being able to come back makes a very marginal difference in the entire story of the NBA. This is the reason why it's on the lower tier of things, because the Sixers were already struggling before Ben Simmons. The Al Horford experience seems to be a complete bust in Philadelphia thus far, and it's been very hard for Brett Brown to find a role for Al Horford so far. His fit in the Sixers offense is very strange. He's 34 years old and he's going to get paid for the next 4 years as well. So there's bigger issues than just Ben Simmons' injury, despite it being a huge issue. But the question is, do you think this time off will allow Ben Simmons to recover from his injury and come back stronger than ever and potentially turn around the Philadelphia 76ers? Personally, I think not. Now, from this point on is where I believe we get to the more interesting parts of the NBA. And we're going to start with the 8th seed in the Western Conference playoffs, because it was very interesting for a period of time. It seemed like the New Orleans Pelicans were finally gaining ground on the Memphis Grizzlies, which is remarkable because before Zion returned from injury, it was a foregone conclusion that Ja Morant was going to become the Rookie of the Year, and the Memphis Grizzlies were going to be the 8th seeded team in the NBA playoffs. But once Zion Williamson came back, this New Orleans Pelicans team looked like a completely different team. They are absolutely terrifying to face off against. They're extremely versatile, and they all fit into the Alvin Gentry scheme perfectly. I've said this many times, but I think David Griffin has done one of the most remarkable jobs rebuilding the New Orleans Pelicans in one season. Literally, this team is significantly better than they ever were in the Anthony Davis era, and it was very entertaining to watch Zion Williamson gaining ground on Ja Morant in an effort where I believed whoever won the 8th seed in the Western Conference playoffs should have won Rookie of the Year. So this next question I have for you guys is dependent upon the length of the regular season once it resumes. If it does even resume, because for all you know, we could go straight into the playoffs or the entire season could be canceled. The question is, do you think Zion Williamson will be able to gain ground on Ja Morant? Do you think they'll end up becoming co-Rookie of the Years, or do you think one deserves it more than the other? Obviously, Ja Morant played more this season, whereas Zion Williamson recently made his return within the past month. But Zion's effect on the New Orleans Pelicans and in basketball cannot be going unnoticed. It has to get some sort of recognition, even though he hasn't been doing it for as long as Ja. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Now, this next one is very interesting. We know the Brooklyn Nets recently fired their head coach Kenny Atkinson, and there's a lot of drama surrounding that before we heard of the situation that we're in currently. So my question for you guys is it in the realm of possibility that Kevin Durant could return this season, make his debut for the Brooklyn Nets, alongside potentially Kyrie Irving? I know Kyrie Irving's opting for surgery, but would Kyrie Irving be able to recover, or would Kevin Durant be the lone wolf on that Brooklyn Nets squad, make his return for the Nets, and try to contribute to a playoff run that the Nets are making? Or do you think that no matter what, the Brooklyn Nets are going to shut down KD until next season? Because we've seen plenty of content of Kevin Durant looking ready for this season. We've seen him dunk, we've seen him dribble, we've seen him show off his handles, and we've seen him show off his vintage jump shot. He looks good. The question is, will he play this season now that he is appearing to be closer to a return, and now that he has additional time with the suspended NBA season and the fact that his team is very close to making it to the Eastern Conference playoffs, do you think it's worth it for Kevin Durant to return despite not having a head coach or anything like that? Because by returning, Kevin Durant could identify and diagnose the holes in the Brooklyn Nets, and he was rumored to be the one that resulted in the Kenny Atkinson firing. He did say, there was a rumor, this is speculation, that Kevin Durant said that the culture that the Brooklyn Nets were building was not consistent with the championship winning culture. So, do you think Kevin Durant will run the floor with the Brooklyn Nets in order to potentially see what else the Nets need to be a championship contender? And finally, the number one storyline that I cannot wait to see when we return for the NBA season, and I'm sure we all could agree with this, is the Utah Jazz's relationship with one another. So I know this is very underrated, and I wouldn't blame you guys for not being privy to this, but if you look at the Western Conference standings currently, the Utah Jazz are currently in 4th place. Now, the Los Angeles Lakers are in 1st place by a landslide. They have 5 games on the Clippers, but the Clippers, Nuggets, and Jazz are very close within each other. The Jazz could have easily been a number 2 seed, and they were at some point a number 2 seed prior to this entire situation. There's been reports about Rudy Gobert's relationship with his entire team. It seems like some of his teammates even resent him for the way he handled the situation because he wasn't taking it seriously. And as a result, he got Donovan Mitchell sick as well, or Donovan Mitchell got him sick. We're not exactly sure. The question is, do you think the Utah Jazz will be able to pick up right where they left off, assuming all that's happened between their entire team? Or do you think, as a result of the NBA being suspended, the Utah Jazz will not be able to get over what happened with Rudy Gobert, and as a result, they're going to slide down these rankings when the regular season returns? Let me know in the comment section down below, as well as any storylines that I may have missed, and if there's enough storylines that you think I may have missed, I will definitely make another video like this for you guys. Aside from that, I'm your boy, TheFlightmike, and I'll catch you guys in the next upload.